Calibration no longer required, and welcome to another episode of important ChartFox channel updates with ChartFox. That's me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I apologize for the slowness of this channel, but I'm starting to realize that I am not as effective as I would like to be when it comes to managing my time. Um, Normally, I'm supposed to only work 8 hours a day, and bad time management skills cause me to end up working more than that. And sometimes I might invest time in other things, or whatever the case may be, I end up either working more than 8 hours, and by the time I want to dedicate time to other things that I have programmed in my schedule, things don't quite work out the way I want them to. And the end result is emergency prioritizing for things. And events happen, things take place, and I have to respond to them. And then what I originally had set up that I wanted to do no longer works out that way. So that schedule is out the window, and other things come along, and then everything just keeps on creeping up. And next thing you know, I am nowhere near what I want to be, or where I want to be as far as doing things that I wish to accomplish. So for that, I apologize. For those of you who are still around, you guys are awesome. You're amazing that you keep sharing these things with me and being supportive, the things that you do, including all my Patreons that surprisingly I still have, and it's unbelievable the amount of support that everyone still keeps giving. It's nuts, really. It really is. It humbles me to the point where it makes me feel bad that I am unable to provide as much content as I would like to. So you have my apologies and my appreciation for all of your support. Um, so that's what's been going on. I tell myself this weekend, I really gotta go back and keep recording and continue the series and start the new play alongs. And this weekend, things happen. I gotta catch up with things that I haven't taken care of from work, or family events take place, or I spend it doing personal stuff like uh, playing games or watching TV. I'm so bad, but it's true. It's true. It's usually what happens. So I apologize for that. I'm really trying to get a system in place where I have the days measured by the hour so that I can set like schedules from this time to this time. It's work. Anything that doesn't happen between that time frame, that's it. Leave it for tomorrow. And that way I'll be able to do steady progress. And then for the rest of the day, this time to this time is YouTube to record and to watch Ruby and to do my play alongs, or whatever the case may be from this time to this time, um, focus on learning a language or set up the schedule to start the draw alongs that I really want to do. So I have to be more effective in managing time and assigning, I guess, time slots to the things that I want to accomplish during the day. So it's a work in progress, and I gotta get there. I really do, so that I can, get to where I would like to be. Um, so that's that as far as that goes. What other things I wanted to discuss today in this important Charfox channel updates? Mm. Oh, yeah. I read some comments about the story that I started in one of the Ruby videos because I had to go to the bathroom, so I just started typing a story in the in the video editor, and I never finished it, and I know how not frustrating, but I know how this sense of incompleteness may have cost some of you based on some of the comments that I read, and I apologize for that. So, to make up for it, and as an apology, I'm going to do a small story time section at the end of this video. For those of you who are interested, you can keep on watching. And for you, those of you who don't really know the story or don't care about it, well, I'll tell you when the video ends and moves on to the story. Um, what else? I think that's it. Honestly, I can't come up with anything anymore. I should really sit down and actually think about what I'm going to say before I start recording, but I never do. But I think that's it. If I miss something, I might remember later on. But yeah. So that's it for this for the important Charfox channel updates. Um, I expect to start doing recordings. I'm gonna try to squeeze one out today. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try to do one today, and hopefully, my ultimate goal that I would like to accomplish is at least one video per week as a minimum. If I can do more, hey, awesome. But minimum, I would really like to do at least one video per week so that I can keep the flow going and catch up with the latest episodes. And eventually, another long-term goal is I would like to attend the the convention. I think as far as convention goes, I think I've only been to two in my life. One of them was Comic Con that they celebrated here in Puerto Rico, and the other one was this local tattoo festival. That's where it was. Yeah, it was a tattoo festival where where I actually got my tongue pierced. Yeah, I had a tongue piercing at one point in my life during my rebel years. Oh man. But yeah, those are the only two conventions that I think I've attended to in my entire life. I would like to go to a Rooster Teeth convention, or I would like to go to a lot of conventions actually, just meet up with people that have similar interests. I think that'll be so cool. So, long-term goals. That's what I would like to do. But in order to do that, I got to actually catch up with the series. Otherwise, everything that I've worked for will be for nothing. um, so yeah. So let's leave it at that. I'll just keep on rambling here if I don't center myself. So, with that being said, if you're leaving now, then thank you. Thank you so much for watching, for your support, for everything that you do. And if you want to stick around for story time, grab a seat, grab a blanket. Unless it's hot, then grab a fan and get comfortable because we're now going to start story time with Charfox, and that's me. Um, should I do something here? I might do something like some text or something. Probably not. I don't know. That depends on how I feel after I finish. But anyway, here we go. So, in our previous story, I think the last thing that I told was there was a kid during my childhood that nobody really quite knew his name, but he was always around and everybody would play with him. And so that made me curious. It made me curious that whenever everybody would scatter for the day, he would stay behind and play with rocks or, stay on the swings or just do other things, but he wouldn't quite go home. I remember, so I invited him home, and then my parents scolded me very harshly for bringing him home. And so he had dinner with us, and then after dinner, we went to the living room. We fired up the PlayStation with the demo disc, and he was just staring. He was constantly staring at the screen. So I offered him the remote, and he's like, "No, no, you play. I want to see you play." So I'm like, "Okay," and I played, and it was a demo disc that had Crash Bandicoot, and it was a skating game that was really, it was funny because it was like, it had like pictures of live action cut out into a digital environment, and when the character would move, they would kind of like move really weird. And then when you crash into something, you kind of like, oh, and then you like tumble on the floor. The camera was behind your character. It was a skating game, and it had Crash Bandicoot. What other games did it have? I guess Crash Bandicoot was the one that we played the most. It was my mission to get the three masks, and I think there was I think there was a Twisted Metal demo too in the bottom corner. Um, Man, I can't remember what games there were. I just remember Crash Bandicoot and the skating game. Um, but anyway, so I fired it up. I started playing Crash Bandicoot, and I'm playing along, and he's just mesmerized. He's just watching the TV the entire time I'm playing, and as I'm trying to get the three masks, because you get one mask that starts floating around with you, and then you get another mask and it turns to gold. And I was always curious as to what would happen when you get the three masks, that there was a mask near the end. But always something would touch me, and the mask would either break the gold and go back to wood, or the wood would disappear. So that was what I was trying to do. I also remember in the demo disc, if you press one of the L or R buttons, the screen that had the little video playing would flip around, and it would have like a little code combination. And if you put in the code combination, it actually plays like a little video about something else. And it was like a little secret hidden thing, like a little Easter egg. And it was a Twisted Metal video, and that's what it was. It was a Twisted Metal video, and it starts off with Calypso saying, "My name is Calypso. 2 years ago, my Twisted Metal contest destroyed the city of Los Angeles." And then they show like scenes, like really graphic, somebody pinned underneath some rubble with fire, and he's like, "Calypso, what have you done? What have you done?" Anyway, that really made an impact on me, that I actually went out of my way to find the game, and I asked my mom to get me that game, despite it being so violent. But anyway, we're going off topic again. So, so we were playing, and it was mostly Crash Bandicoot. So I gave him, after like playing like 4 or 5 times, I gave him the remote for him to play. But then at that time, my mom came down, and she's like, "Hey, it's time for your friend to go home. It's bedtime." And I'm like, "Oh, Mom." And she's like, "Yeah, it's getting late." And he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go home." So my mom told me to walk him home, and we were gonna go outside, and we exited the house. And I lived very close to the park. Like my house was in front of, believe it or not, a hotel. It was in front of a hotel, and we got out of the front gate of the house. I don't know how to describe it. There's like a concrete wall with a sliding gate and a small pedestrian gate. So we got out of the pedestrian gate onto the sidewalk where the street was. And he's like, "Oh, you don't have to walk me home. It's fine." And I'm like, "No, no, it'll be no big deal." And part of me was really curious. I really want to see where he lived so that I can go visit his house and see what things he has. But he was pretty adamant in not letting me follow him. So it got to the point where he was very, very stern about it. And he's like, "No, no, stay here. I might get in trouble." And at that point, I'm like, "Okay, I don't want to get you in trouble, so that's fine." And he started walking. And then when he got to the corner, he kind of like stopped and he turned around and he looked at me and he like waved. And I like waved back. And then he kind of like stood there. So I got the message and I closed the door. And quick description, it was a metal gate, but it had like a little wooden panel in between the two squares of metal. There was like a little wooden thing. In between the wood and the metal, there was a small slit. So I kind of like closed the gate. I stepped away from it, and then like 5 seconds later, I walked up back to the gate, and I peeked through the little slit, and I'm trying to see. And he crosses the street, and he starts heading into the park. Now, quick description of the park. From my house, the park had like kind of like a small concrete amphitheater, I guess you can call it. Not really an amphitheater, but it's a place where it has like concrete bleachers that form like a half circle. And in the center, there's like a circle of concrete. And I guess people can sit on the concrete bleachers and you can do like a small play in the concrete slab, the circle slab. And that part is visible from my house because the open circle faces from where my house is, but it's probably like 5 or 6 houses away across the street and to the left of my house. So you can see that concrete amphitheater, and then beyond it, if you climb up the concrete bleachers, behind it is like a mound of dirt and grass, and you can't see from that part. So he starts walking towards the park, and he's walking and he's walking and he's walking, and I'm watching him through the slit. I'm trying to get an idea of where it is that he's going, and he enters the park, which has no fence, no nothing. It's an open park. He enters the park. He starts walking through the grass, and he reaches the concrete amphitheater stage, whatever you want to call it. And then he climbs up the bleachers, the concrete bleacher stairs, and then he goes behind the hill. At that point, I'm like, okay, so he lives through the park on the other side of the park. I lived in a two-story house that has a balcony that also faces the park. So I ran upstairs and I went to the balcony and I start looking at the park. Not, if I'm being honest, I don't think 12 seconds went by between when I was standing at the front gate and when I was at the balcony in the second floor overlooking the park. So I'm overlooking the park. the park had two lights working. It was pretty dim, but you could still see the outline of things. So I'm staring and I'm looking, and I don't see him beyond the mound of grass. I don't see him anywhere. But I'm staring and I'm looking and I'm paying attention, and I don't see him. He's just not popping up anywhere. He's not crossing the street at the other side of the park. It was a fairly large park, but you could still see the other side of the park where the sidewalk was and the street lights. But he never popped out anywhere. And after waiting there for like 10 minutes, I decided to like give up on it. So I went inside, brushed my teeth, got ready for bed, and I went to sleep. Um, Now here's where it gets interesting. That particular night, I had a hard time sleeping because I kept thinking about what a mystery this kid was, and I couldn't quite make sense of the things that happened. Like he was dying to play because he doesn't have a game in his house. He wasn't permitted, or something like that. He hasn't experienced playing a video game, and he didn't take the initiative to grab the remote and to play. It was mostly me just playing. So I had a hard time sleeping, and I woke up like two or three times for some reason in the middle of the night. And I remember waking up, and it was an uncomfortable feeling. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't scared, and it wasn't panic. It was just uneasy. I woke up and I'm like, huh? Oh, oh, what's wrong? I feel weird. And then I would just lay there and think about things. And then the night ended. The next day, we go outside. All of us meet up at the park again. Everybody's playing around. And that particular day, that kid wasn't there. And I asked around if anybody had seen him, and people are like, no, we haven't seen him. One of the kids started saying that his mom doesn't let him come out too much. So that made me curious, and I started asking questions. You know the mom? Have you seen? Do you know where he lives? And then they're like, no, it's what he tells us when he comes out sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, so anyway, I think 2, 3, probably 4 days went by, and nobody had seen that kid since. And like on the fifth day or on the sixth day, one of my other friends, they got him this laser tag set, which was by far the coolest thing I have ever seen or experienced in my life. It was this gray looking pistol that looks very futuristic. It's like it has red lights on the top, and then it has like a curved design, and it looks very like sci-fi, like a phaser blaster. The on-off switch is in the back of the weapon, and it's like a little bit squarish, and you can slide it left and right. And it has a reload button on the top, and it was just the coolest thing. And it also has like this vest, but it's not really a vest, it's just like a little chest piece that you put on your chest, and it has a speaker and a light and the little sensor that you can unscrew, and you can like slide it out, and it increases precision difficulty because instead of it being close to the sensor, it actually slides out by spinning it out, and it makes it hard for you to hit because you have to be directly aiming so that the laser enters the sensor, and then you can't hit it at an angle. And it was nuts. It was the coolest thing. And then they sounded so cool. It was like a and when you reload it goes and we were playing with the park. He had two sets. So there was four of us actively playing, and the way we would play it is whoever gets eliminated first has to give the chest and the weapon to somebody else. And then that person joins in, and then whoever gets eliminated again gives the vest and the chest to the other person. And we kept it live, so we were always going at it. Now the thing was, um, the pistols were loud, and they had a kind of like an indicator to let you know that they're turned on, and they would beep. They would go beep, 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 right? And that would make people aware of where you were at. Now, when I was holding the weapon and I'm like, "Oh man, this is so cool," you know, I noticed that in the front of the weapon, on the front part, there were like these slits that made the grill. And so I'm studying it and I'm looking at it, and inside I see a speaker. So I put my hand in front of it and I became invisible because the weapon would not make any sound. No beeping, no shooting, no reloading, no nothing. I became invisible. And from that point forward, I never gave my gun to anybody because nobody could figure out why they were getting eliminated. I hit in a bush and I was just holding that speaker down with all my might, and it would be sniping people. And they're like, I'm getting hit from where? I don't know. When you get eliminated, and then it turns like a solid color to let you know that that person is out. And I was just having a blast, just taking out people. And they didn't know where it was coming from. They couldn't hear me. They would walk past me, and I would cover it. And if they would get too close, I would power down my weapon so that I would make absolutely no noise. And then when they would walk away, I would cover it, turn it back on, and it would make all the powering up really quietly because I'm covering the speaker. And then I wait for them to turn around, and I'm just pew, 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 and they're like, what the heck? Where is it coming from? but um, but we were out there for hours, and I remember at one point I'm hiding in my bush, right? And these bushes are not hard to describe. Let me describe them for you. It's like a miniature tree that has no trunk. It only has like a bunch of branches that come out of the ground, and then at the end of the branches, it makes like a foliage. So it makes like the perfect hiding spots when you go inside and you kind of like twist yourself and you sit on top of the branches, but all the leaves are covering you. And you have little openings here and there where you can see. And that's where I would be pointing my weapon out and tagging people. And so there was probably like eight of these shrubs scattered in different places of the park. Um, behind this was behind the amphitheater place. After you go down the mound of the grass, the park opens up and it's a grass field. There was a big boulder there. There was a tree, but it had these shrubs scattered around with some some small flowers on them, red little cross looking flowers. So I'm hiding in my bush and, I'm just playing, sniping people. And at one point, I heard somebody call me, but it wasn't like a shout and it wasn't like a whisper. It was just like, Char, like, hey. And it startled me. I thought somebody found me. So I kind of like, I try, I try to cover my chest piece so that I don't get shot, and I turn around. But I don't see anybody nearby, and I'm looking through all the leaves, and I'm like where did that come from? That was so weird. And eventually I look at another shrub, and in the shrub, I could have sworn I saw the face of that kid that I haven't seen in such a long time. Like he was looking through the bush, and then he saw me. He kind of like went back into the bush, and I immediately stopped what I was doing. I stepped out of the shrub. I start walking towards the that other shrub, and I'm just focused on it. I'm getting lasered from all directions, and I don't care about that. I just keep walking towards the shrub. And when I get there and I kind of like open up the shrub to find a way to get into the shrub, there's nobody inside it. Like the kid wasn't there. I never saw him leave the shrub. And what was weird though is that on the floor where all the branches come out of was the shirt and the pants that he was wearing on the day that he came to my house. And even more weird was that on top of the clothing that was kind of like sort of hanging on the branches, on top of it was a little transformer toy that I had that was it was a red and white car that I had in my room on top of the dresser. I had it in car form, but when I found it, it was in transformer mode, in robot mode. And I immediately recognized it. I'm like, hey, is that mine? And so I pick up the toy and I look at it, and I just couldn't quite understand what exactly was going on. So I step out of the bush and I call my friends over and I'm like, hey, look, it's that kid's clothing. And they're like, oh, that's weird. And we kind of like started talking about it and joking about it and trying to make sense of what it was that we were seeing, but we couldn't quite understand it. Even to this day, I don't understand. I can't make sense of what happened. Um, After hanging out with my friends for like 30 or something more minutes, I went home. I go to my room and I start looking for my Transformer toy that was on top of the dresser, but it's not there. And I realize that it is, in fact, mine, which is extremely weird because he never left my sight. He came into my house. We had dinner, and the dinner table is literally right next to the living room. So we finished having dinner, and then we went to the living room where the PlayStation was, and we played there. And he never went to the bathroom. He never nothing. And then he just watched me play. And then after we finished playing, he left. I walked him to the gate, and then he went on his own, and I stayed looking at him as he walked over the amphitheater circle concrete place. And then I went upstairs and never saw him again. Um, so that was the interesting story that I had. Um, I don't know what that kid's name was. I don't know how he got my Transformer toy, and I don't understand why his clothing was inside that shrubby bush. Now I've tried to make sense of this, and I honestly can't make sense of it. And it's not like, I thought my mind has gone places trying to make sense of it. No, maybe it's a ghost, or oh, maybe you know he was a he was a homeless kid that was also a thief and broke into the house and stole your toy when you were sleeping, or any number of reasons. But what I can't quite wrap my head around is the fact that the clothing was inside the bush, and it wasn't like it was there for a very long time. I mean, it seemed clean. It seemed not been there for a very long time. And I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird. I've never really quite been able to make sense of that. So, this happened in the Dominican Republic. So if I have any Dominican viewers who might have any idea of something similar, the shirt that he was wearing, I don't know if it'll help, was yellow and blue stripes, and he had shorts that were like a light, not a light. It was like it was a bluish color, but it wasn't dark blue. It was like a sky blue shorts. The kid must have been around 11, maybe 12. Or actually, no, he seemed smaller than me. He was probably 9 or 10. 9 or 10 or 11. This was back in 1997, 98, 97. And the district was Cacicascos, Dominican Republic. So, just thought about Robert Stack. May he rest in peace. How was it that he outroed his episode? For every mystery, there is someone somewhere who knows the answer, who knows the truth. Perhaps he is one of our viewers watching. Perhaps it is you. So, if you have any answers, please feel free to let me know, because that's something that I haven't been able to ever, I guess, get closure on. It's really weird. It was really weird. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and leave it here. I hope I was able to give you some closure on my story that I thought I was going to be able to type in, but I went really quick to the bathroom. So, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate everything that you do, all your support, and hopefully I'll find myself organizing myself better and be able to start producing more videos for you guys, because I enjoy doing it and I enjoy interacting and spending time with you guys. So thank you for all my supporters and for all my loyal viewers. Thank you. Your continued dedication and support is truly humbling and very inspiring, and I really appreciate everything that you do. So I can't say it enough. Thank you. Until next time, take care. I need to put my mouse on the stop recording button. Here we go. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
ふわふわふわふわふわふわりくるくるくるくるくるくる回るのふわふわふよふよふわふわりうるるくるくるふわふわ飛び出したの